Ryan Cole, thanks for taking the time. It's the Mountain West Indoor Championships this weekend. What's the heartbeat of the team right as you go into this?
Well, hopefully, there's a lot of excitement going in because it's your, entering into your championship season and to your conference meet for the majority of the team. That is your culminating event for the indoor season or your last opportunity to qualify for the national championships if you're, in that conversation. So, yeah, I think you always, during the regular season, you do some different things in your preparation for your championship season or portion, but you also get to work on some individual things, but then by the time you get to this time of year, it's doing whatever you can to help the team. So I hope there's excitement to go into the conference championship and, for everybody getting on the plane to go to Reno this year, seeing how they can help and doing everything they can to help our team be successful.
Yeah. Kind of new territory, though, for Air Force usually, especially on the men's side, usually vying for a championship. Doesn't look like you maybe have enough competitors to do that this time around. How are you speaking to each team about, what do you, everybody, the goal always is to win everything, right? But how do you speak to your team going into this?
Our messaging is always the same, both genders each year. It's being the team you're capable of being. I think once you try to get an assessment on what that is, then you also hope you look back on a season and felt like you overachieved a tad. I think our groups, the cadets, do a great job of overachieving, but our sport's also very objective. So there are a few different metrics you can look at as you evaluate, was it a good season? Was it a good championship meet for us? So you look at PR percentages, how many people did we have their best performance of a season or of their career at a goal event. You can also look at exceeding your seeding. So if you go into an event ranked 7th individually, can you place in the top 6? Then you also look at point totals. If you were projected to score X number of points, were you able to exceed that? As far as winning, you always want to be set up to compete as best you can, and you hope winning is in the cards. I mean, that's why we do this, or else you just do time trials and inter squads, and you go and you seek out really good competition to test yourself and figure out ways to compete successfully and ultimately win. But there are also elements to that you can't control what other teams do, how other competitors are performing. So we always want to kind of have a gut sense where you walk away from a competition feeling like that was a really good competition for us. We were dialed in. We controlled what we can control. We competed as hard as we could, and then you see how the chips fall. No pun intended, going to Reno. But I think you talk about winning, but you should be messaging, talking about being successful and figuring out how to do that. Generally, those tend to go hand in hand. When you have the people that we have here at the Air Force Academy, and you're heavily committed to pursuing success, generally that puts you in a position where in a lot of instances you're competing to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone who follows Air Force track and field knows Texas Tanner's out there. Talk about him and how he's getting ready for this and maybe some other names that they should be looking for.
Yeah, Texas has had a really good indoor season, but one of the things, as you get to a level that Texas has attained, you're used to winning again. And so sometimes I think that can become a little complacent. And so we went to some competitions this year, seeking out, going to Kansas State, going to Texas Tech, even having the former national champion, he's now graduated, but up in Wyoming, and getting to see him in some unattached competitions, continuing to have, Texas has been beat this indoor season. And so, kind of making sure that fire is still going. Texas is looking to try to compete to win both of his events indoor with the shot and the weight. And so we're hoping that, he's in position to do that. But also you look at a freshman, Max McFarland, right on the threshold of our freshman record for the men's pole vault. And that's always been a really strong event for us. But he has one of the best guys in the nation, at Utah State in the pole vault. So he's going to get some really good competition. You look at our distance runners. I mean, we have the cross country national champion, down at New Mexico. And so he's going to be in the distance races. And so for our guys, we talk about, trying to make the Olympics. And it's like, well, in the Olympics, you get to compete against the best guys in the world. Well, we have one of them a few hours south of us, and I think his plane's probably going to get to Reno as well, so our guys are going to get to compete against him. You look at our women's side, and India Jones and Ella Johnson having tremendous seasons in the 5K and getting to go and compete successfully in that event. I think when you look at the multi, we're going to have a new person with Morgan Glazer, opening up in her first pent. She's a very good high jumper and hurdler, so we'll see how that stacks up. But Sarah Reynolds and Kayla Beach have done a tremendous job in that event area. We missed Wyatt Curl in the multi last year. We're going to get him back this year. So, that's one of kind of the interesting things about going into a meet. You kind of look at it on paper, and sometimes you think, okay, we're going to steamroll this thing. And then you get in and it doesn't go according to form. And then there are other years where you're like, all right, we have our challenges. And then you get in there and the competition is not going to be conducted on paper. And so then you start getting into, the competition itself, and people start performing, and all of a sudden, the form chart's out the window. And that's why that's why you run the race. That's why you contest the high jump. That's why you step in the ring and let the throws dictate the outcome, not what the rankings are. And so, I think that's an opportunity where you do this sport or sports in general to test yourself and compete. Right. So we get an opportunity to compete this weekend. And so we're looking forward to the competition not being on paper.
Yeah. Should be a lot of fun. Coach Cole, thanks. Good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.